This is my second reaction video, but it might be the first one that you're seeing. I want to thank my husband for encouraging me to keep doing videos. I watch Daisy Maria every time she publishes a new video, so it's only natural to react to her content on my channel. This is going to be fun. Thank you, Daisy, and her URL is youtube.com/c/Daicy Maria, spelled Daicymaria. Just skip the ad here.
Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Daisy. For today's video, I'm going to be reading some of my subscribers' scary stories. So if you guys are interested, grab your snacks, grab your cobija, and let's get straight into it. Now let's start off with our first story, titled El Duende, True Story by Tara. Hi Daisy, I was recently introduced to your channel when I was researching duendes. You are such a cool lady with an awesome channel. I'm always on the hunt for information on duendes, fairies, folklore, and such. Well, I'm so glad that you stumbled upon my channel, so thank you, Tara. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Ever since my first memorable encounter with a fairy in Ireland, I have been fixated on finding the truth about them. I'm Irish on my father's side and I'm Mexican on my mother's. This is why I use duende and gnome interchangeably. Although my first encounter was in Ireland, I'll probably save that story for another time. I'd rather focus on El Duende. About 3 years ago, I lived with my mom and sister in an apartment in Los Angeles. I was already a believer in the supernatural and fairies. However, I was not expecting what was to come. In a span of 5 months, items were moving around the apartment. The block of cheese in the refrigerator went missing. My mom asked if either I or my sister had been using it, but we were just as clueless. We always make it a point to put food away so we don't attract bugs. Fast forward about a day, I was looking for a porcelain pan that we keep on the top shelf in the kitchen. It's with a bunch of miscellaneous cookingware. We don't go up in that cabinet often unless we are cooking an elaborate meal. Sure enough, the missing cheese was found amongst the cookingware on the top shelf. Neither one of us remember hiding the cheese away in such an inconspicuous place. About a few weeks later, I bought some fresh fruit in a cup for a snack. I came home and put it in the fridge to save for later that day. I was sitting with my sister on the living room couch. We were looking at different types of fairies in a book that I had. We came across a creature that is mischievous in nature. The book said that it likes to prank people by rotting their fruit. My sis and I were intrigued, but also playfully joking about it and making up silly stories about this creature. At that moment, I remembered that my fruit was waiting in the fridge for me to eat. I jokingly told my sis, "I hope my fruit is okay." I walked to the fridge to pull out my fruit, and sure enough, it was moldy and fuzzy. I was speechless. The fruit was bought fresh that day. I showed my sis, but she laughed at me and said that I shouldn't have made fun of the creature in that book. These two experiences seemed too convenient to be a coincidence. Fast forward about a month, I was home one night getting ready for bed. I just finished giving myself a tarot card reading and was putting my deck away. I keep it on a shelf specifically for my deck and nothing else. I had gone to sleep, but when I woke up in the morning, my deck was in the middle of my bedroom floor. I asked my mom and sister if they had gone into my room that night, but they denied it. I don't sleepwalk, and neither does anyone else in my family. I didn't have an explanation as to why my deck moved from point A to point B in the middle of the night. After that experience, the activity around my apartment calmed down. I do cleanse my space often, and about 2 months later, after the tarot cards were moved, the activity started again. One night, I came home around at 9:30 p.m. from working. My sis was asleep, however, my mom was awake. She was washing the dishes in the kitchen and had poured me a glass of red wine. Before I took a sip, I had to use the restroom. I walked past the living room and down the hall to get to my bathroom. Keep in mind, I still had my glass of wine with me. As I turned on the light to the bathroom, I felt an energy shift. All the sound around me had faded away, almost like entering a tunnel. My eyes were focused on one spot where the color and light started to shift around. This distortion manipulated into a shape. and eventually into a figure. Before I knew it, a small creature appeared before me. The only way I can explain it would be a duende, minus a pointy hat.
That is
It
so
was about
scary.
3 feet in height with long, skinny arms, but had a wide, plump belly. Its face was wrinkly with a big mouth. It had a long, pointy nose that curved downward. On its head was a small patch of blonde hair that was sticking up all messy. Its clothes were simple with earth-toned colors. As I stood there in shock, staring at this duende, it stared back at me with a big smile. I feel that once it saw my face in shock and surprised, it got offended and started to
Her
frown.
laugh is
It
really
looked like it was about to cry. I reached my arm and wanted to say, "No, don't cry," but it vanished before I could say a word. At that moment, all the sounds in the bathroom and apartment came back into the space. I started to feel a bit more grounded. I was surprised that I didn't scream and bolt out of the bathroom to my mom. I had read in some folklore that fairies and gnomes can sometimes project their feelings onto you to communicate or to teach you a lesson. Once I had passed the threshold into my bathroom, it kind of felt like entering a portal where I started to feel energy of the duende. Never in my life had I experienced a physical being like that. It was so physical, I couldn't even call it an apparition. After that encounter, I picked up my books of fairies again and did some digging. I eventually came across this type of gnome who loves offerings of wine and beer. Maybe it wanted some of my wine that night. It also said in the book that this gnome can be a protector of the house. However, if you offend it, it can play pranks on you. Ever since that night, I have been much more thorough in my research of magical creatures. Recently, I had came across your videos on duendes with actual footage of them. It was amazing to hear the stories and watch those videos. I only wish I had evidence to show you, Daisy. However, I did draw a picture of a duende. I love to draw. Thank you for reading this. Thank you, Tara, for writing in, and let me show you guys what she drew. I'm gonna put it up here for you guys so you guys can see her talent. I thought this looks like a Google pick art. She's very talented. So thank you for taking the time to write in and to draw that picture for us to see and visualize. I visualized everything just by the way you described every detail. I thought this duende was so cute. He was just like, "Girl, give me some wine." But I've never heard that they liked beer or wine. I've heard that they like candy, that they like the offerings of candy, fruit, but never did I hear about beer or wine. So now I'll note that in my notebook. If you guys ever want to give duendes offerings, now you